Hello, hello. It's me, Annalisa. I am back. I don't know if anybody's here. How are y'all? Um, Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I had to, at 3 o'clock, I got a text if my daughter could go on a play date, but I needed her to, when they're in like sixth grade, it's like hard to say play date because you feel like they're a little too old. But anyway, go to a friend's house and hang out. And she needed to do, I was like, you got to do your homework first. I'm not doing late night homework on a Sunday night. So then she was like, I really hate that it's mirrored weird and I can't like just fix my hair normal like I would in a mirror. Sorry. Hi, Shannon. How are you? So I had to do drop off. And then I don't like to just I like to give you guys a warning because otherwise then I sit here until people notice that I'm on. And I just have no patience for that. Anyway, how is everybody? I have Gabby for a reading and then I've got Allie. And Gabby, you paid for more than one, so you can have more than one question. Or did you want to do like the general and then do whoop and then do whoop? Sorry. My hair is still very wet too. Do a general and then do your question that you had. You let me know. General is 12. Any question is 12. Let's put it that way. I just have a flat rate of $12 and then I donate 30% to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. So like last year, we collected enough to be able to donate $1,639, or was it $1,369? I think I have to look at the payment. Here, let me connect the thing and then you will have it. Okay, I went ahead and pinned it so then you can find it. Let me take off top of my thing. Okay. I'm looking for my reading glasses. My old lady eyes. Okay. These are really dirty, I think. Oh, well, whatever. These are not my favorite reading glasses. I've decided that they were like a really popular style, but they just don't work for my face, I don't think. But whatever. They work for me to see. So, okay. Hi, Fern. How are you? Lydia, how are you? Okay. So Fern, have you been here before? Lydia, I don't know if you've been here. So this is how it works. I've got Allie. I think I spilled my tea all over myself. I don't know. I love this like jacket. I wear it now sort of obsessively because it feels like a squishmallow and it's soft and I like soft. Okay. Do you want to know something funny? I think is that my okay, I've got Gabby and Allie. My phone like will not pick up. Oh, that's like the glare is obnoxious. Sorry. My phone will not pick up if unlock if I'm smiling or laughing. Like it'll only take resting bitch face. All right, let's go. Got my sugar. You like them? Okay. So they don't look weird. I just feel like they look weird because I think, like I went through I've been wearing glasses or some sort of visual aid since I was 13. And so I went through all the phases of like, even like the little tiny 2000s ones that look like, what's her name? Mrs. Claus reading glasses. Plus, my ears are crooked or something. So I always have to do something weird with these to make them like sit on my face. Any glasses really to sit on my face normal. All right. Let's do some readings. You want to do the general and then the one about your legs first, or you let me know, Gabby, what order you want to do them in. I want to say this. There is this really lovely woman that I came across on TikTok, and she has a YouTube page, and it's JJ Legal, I think it is. Let me double check. Ugh, itchy nose. Let me look on my phone. But she just like breaks it down, like all the stuff. If you tend to get nervous by all the things that are going on right now, and you're not sure like where to look, or it just everything feels really scary, she provides a really sound voice and mind. Yeah, it's JJ Legal. So I'll put it here. She might be somebody good for you guys to follow, of like, just like, hey, yeah, they said they're doing this, but like, you know, like he can't do that because of X, Y, and Z. Or if he does this, we're talking about all these executive orders that are getting written. I just clicked on her thing. God dang it. I come in here every time without Kleenex, and it's just driving me nuts. Give me a second. Let me just go in here, grab something. Just step over. Oops. I just step over a cord, and then I have all these things like snugged up against here. Okay. Anyway, JJ Legal, like she just has like a nice, you watched her yesterday. Oh, okay, good. Yeah. I sent it to a few people that I knew would be like, that are mutuals on. And she just has like a nice, really nice sound mind, where she's just like, yeah, this stuff is going on, but like, here's how to keep your nervous system in check. So it might be helpful. No. Let me see, Shannon. Hold on just a sec. Yes, I got it. So here, let's make my list so then everybody knows. Anyways, I think I made the prediction here. I can't remember where I first said it. It was like that in June, I feel like there's going to be a mass exodus from TikTok because there's going to be a lot of changes in the way it's run. And I said this well before the blackout thing and everything else. And I also said that we were going to come right back on. It wasn't going to be out long. So all I'm saying is I think a lot of it is, I like every day as it passes, I'm like, yeah, I really think that something's going to happen. There's going to be a mass exodus. So look for your favorite creators other places. I'm here. I'm also on Blue Sky. I'm pretty much not going to be on Instagram. The only reason I'm going to be on Facebook anymore really is just for school stuff for my kids. It's like there's certain things that I'm sort of tied to where I can't get out of it. So I sort of see, I'm not sure, like Blue Skies, I think it'll be evolving. There's another one that's going to be linked to Blue Sky, and it's going to be called Skylight. So I'd watch out for Skylight and Neptune. I will keep you guys posted where I'm going to be. I realized that in Substack, I can create a community, which is kind of what I'm looking for. I can do community on my Stan Store, but it's not exactly what I want to do. So I might be kind of pushing y'all a little bit to Substack. I'll offer some free stuff, but then have some paid stuff for there. And I was thinking like, half the time while I resist doing some of the readings that like you guys ask about, I would do if they're paid for, because I'd feel like it's not like everybody can't watch them, and I wouldn't feel like it would draw the wrong kind of energy. That it's like people that want to be there. So like the celebrity readings and things like that, or being a little bit more frank about things. Just saying. Because the stuff that's going on, like I would talk more about what I pick up intuitively about like the stuff that's going on with some of the celebrities right now, but I won't do it on these. I feel like I'll lock that down for special people. Hi, Regine. But also I want to create it like where it's like, where I offer either small circles, like opportunities for circles for you guys to do readings in circles that I wouldn't necessarily offer to other people. I'm going to make it still very affordable. I keep my readings pretty affordable, I'd say. All right. So, whatever comes first, Gabrielle, here we go. With your legs, is it more like in your hip flexors? Like I just feel really sore in my hip flexors in the front and almost kind of achy. And then where it like then kind of radiates a little bit down my thighs. And it almost feels like, to me, like, when you work out, so you're a little, it's not over sore, but it's that fatigue that comes with it. Okay, Fern. I feel like your calves is more related to just dehydration. And I honestly feel with that, you may have even had some muscle loss over time just from and so like from not moving as much, not having the energy to do as much because of all of the stuff. Um and she knows what I mean when I say stuff. So um I feel like even doing the smallest thing actually creates the fatigue. Uh I still keep getting like 6 months, so it feels like it just feels like this is something that's gonna take time to really feel like you don't have that exhaustion and that ache. I still feel really sore in my hip flexor area. It just comes out of nowhere. Um, do you know how you get like Charlie horses when you're dehydrated? To me, that's how it feels, like bam. Um I know you've had a lot of testing done. Did they ever do test for like a reemergence of Epstein-Barr, the mono thing? Your levels were also so high that they said it was from past infections. Well, the reason I ask that is because COVID can reawaken Epstein-Barr, and it just feels like this is like just gonna be one of those things where it's really just time, where it's like, I know it sucks and it's like, but it feels like it's just one of those things that it's just time, and I keep getting like 6 months. I do feel like some of the herbal medicine and stuff that you're doing is gonna help, um, but it just feels like the consistency of it is really important, like the long-term consistency of it, of doing, making sure you're getting your electrolytes and you're hydrated and all of that. I can imagine. I'm sorry. I know that you're really going through it. It sucks when you're physically just, you're like, I know I'm not supposed to feel. It's not like you feel the worst in the world. It's not like you can't get stuff done, but it's also like I don't feel the way I should feel. And unfortunately, I feel like it's really going to be like another 10 years before they really have a full grasp on all the ways in which COVID hits your body, and then also why certain people seem to have it versus others, because they're getting things, but they're not getting the full picture yet. I also think in another like 10 years, within the next 10 years, maybe even sooner, like 5 to 6 years, they're gonna be diagnosing, hi independent 87, they're going to be diagnosing like neurodivergence differently, rather than using, so like for autism and ADHD, it's really a subjective diagnosis, it's not like, I mean, with ADHD, there is more definitive, like, oh yeah, we can see as we're doing this test here, like you're losing concentration or focus. But for the most part, it's really like, what do people observe? And then how do you feel on the inside? Like those are the big detectors. Like with my oldest daughter is autistic. My middle daughter just got her ADHD diagnosis. And I was concerned about autism with her too. And um, she's like, well, I see some of the symptoms. There's nothing definitive because she can hold a conversation, because she, like all of that. And I feel like literally within the next 10 years, they're going to have brain scans that definitively will say, yeah, this is it. This is here. Like it'll be, I suspect they're going to be doing a lot better with understanding mental health stuff instead of just like, well, like, because even depression is sort of subjective. It's not, I mean, I know they have defining whatever, but I feel like they'll be able to like, I feel like they're going to be treating it a lot better. I don't think it has to do with your blood type. To be very honest with you, I don't at all think that it has to do with your blood type, because there's neurodivergence in all lines of my family, and my youngest is O positive, and she has some symptoms. I don't think it has anything to do with blood type. And I'll tell you also, because like my oldest has a microdeletion, and that's highly correlated with that. It's genetic. I don't think it's blood type at all, to be very honest with you. Just like it has nothing to do with vaccines and all of that stuff. I do think that there's foods that exacerbate symptoms because of the way they affect your nervous system. And in people with neurodivergence, oftentimes their synapses aren't pruned the same way as neurotypicals. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to say this. Okay, so when they started allowing people to be left-handed, when it was no longer taboo, and they started like allowing it, lots of people all of a sudden became left-handed. So I don't think it's like too many people are diagnosed with it. I think there's something with our like um some of the synthetic food dyes and things like that. Yeah, for sure. But I also think that they've not expanded expanded their understanding of how it presents in other people. So when they first did a lot of the studies back in like, really the 70s is when they did a lot of them. I could be wrong, so that can be corrected for sure. But their cohort of individuals they were studying were little white, upper middle class boys. And you will notice that like female brains of autistic brains function more like male neurotypical brains. So they say, I mean, I don't know how many studies, but point being is, it's just the more knowledge we have, the more we understand about something, then it's like, oh, actually, like these people fall into this category too. So I would not have been diagnosed, but I have a lot of the symptoms, but because I'm high masking, and I can it doesn't mean I don't have my own burnout moments or anything like that. I learned to basically do what do they call it? Behavioral adaptation, which is not necessarily good. You're still like, your nervous system is still shot, and you end up having issues later because you didn't, accommodate yourself the way you should have. But so I don't think it's like, oh my God, we have all of these. It's really just understanding how it presents. It presents differently in people of color. It presents differently in women. It presents differently depending on your culture, all of that stuff. So I don't think it's like, oh my God, we didn't understand, or nobody was and now they are. And so it's just, we didn't understand. And now, just like heart attacks present differently in women. And they didn't start including women in studies for heart attacks until the 90s. I think it was like 95 or 96. So like, that's nuts, right? Now think about all the medications that they test tested, like all the early ones have tested mostly on men. And men and women's bodies are different simply because of hormones. Same thing with ADHD medications. There are a lot of women who, if they take Adderall or anything like that, they will say, or Vyvanse, that, during certain times of their cycle, it just doesn't work. But the studies were all done on men. So I just don't, I would love to, I know I hear a lot of people say oh, well, now it all of a sudden it's well, now people have more access, A, to diagnoses, and B, there's a better understanding of how it affects people. Yeah, I saw that Red 3 out. They wish they would take Red 40 and blue and yellow and basically all of them, because they don't need it. All right, so let's do a general for you, Gabby. Well, okay, so there's been first of all, there's a lot of changes just based on the way they farm. Also, everything wasn't plastic when we were little. I was born in 1978. Everything was not plastic. Also, consumerism is different, so I don't know. I'd like to think the aliens are going to come and save us, but why didn't they save us from plastic? That shit is fucking up the ocean. All right. Just my 2 cents. Our immune systems do become stronger when they're exposed to germs, but I don't know. They've also taken fiber out of our diet, just very basic things, take fiber out of our diet. And so I'm my mom laughs at me. She's like, oh my God, you're like my mother, because I'm we need more fiber in our diet. And I remember my grandmother always having Metamucil, and my mom was she was obsessed. And I was well, I just realized that they don't have it in our diet anymore. Really, it's stripped out of a lot of our foods, especially if they're processed. So I try to make sure that's one of the main things I'm eating, because it also helps with your blood sugar, and there's a lot of factors to it. All right, so enough about whatever. I don't know if anybody's entertained by that. Okay, Gabby. Sorry, Bobby Kennedy Jr. will be. Listen, that man had a fucking heroin issue for 10 years, so I'm not too trustworthy on his brain. Sorry, I just can't with him. 10 years of heroin, the clock is right twice a day. So, and also the Democrats did try to actually pass things against some of the food stuff, and it got pushed away back in California, because we follow a lot of California stuff because they're such a big state. They actually got knocked down by Republicans. So, I don't have a lot of faith in Bobby Kennedy. Yeah, he's not, I'm not was it Ron Paul? Is that his name? That man can be a total nut job, but he does have some things that I agree with. I'm not totally, I have voted Republican a long time ago. But for the whole, I'm pretty, I just want people to be healthy, and I don't think Bobby Kennedy's the place to go, though. Half of them were all up on stage, totally on drugs. As someone who had been the sober person around a lot of people who were can you just be sober while we were on our tripping and stuff? I'm okay. They were not autistic, as somebody wanted to say, oh, that's him stimming. He was not stimming. That's not stimming. But that's really more about, a lot of that has to do about the Republican Party doing a lot of deregulations with businesses and corporations. So, I don't know. We definitely need to have more regulations, but a lot of those were stripped away. Just start researching, with Nixon and Reagan, and I'm not saying all Democrats are great. I think we need to crack down on insider trading within Congress, for sure. And if that's a both sides of the aisle thing. Okay. So let's, because I'm not going to solve any of that today here. So let's do my readings. That's what we're here for, really. All right, Gabby. So I'm just feeling like with you, Gabby, a lot of, ooh, are you having a lot of dizziness? Um, I feel like the dizziness is creating a little bit of anxiety. I actually think it's really like, because I keep feeling like I'm outside, so I'm sort of feeling like that's more related to I know you've been there a while already, but I still like feel still needing to like adjust to the altitude. For whatever reason, your body, and I don't know if there's maybe something you can look up on this, but your body has a slower time adjusting to it. Your vertigo has been really bad. I feel like it's more related to the altitude stuff. I don't know if this would make a difference, but it's this feeling of like, when have you ever done a Wim Hof breathing method? I know. I'm sorry about your son. That's awful. It's been very cold here and so dry. Yeah. Do you so put a humidifier in your house? But I also feel like it's almost this feeling of like if I higher altitude is lower oxygen, right? Um and it's weird because with Wim Hof, it almost feels like more like so Wim Hof what you're doing when you do Wim Hof breathing is you basically are like you breathe off, you blow off a ton of CO2 in the beginning and then you breath hold. So I feel like maybe there's something to that. Like if you did that, do the beginners. Don't just find Wim Hof breathing. That man's a little controversial, but he's got a great technique for this. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they would say. Um, so it feels like if you did that, it might help you just find some normalcy. I don't fully understand why, but I don't know. But I feel like the vertigo is more related to just to the altitude. Like it, for whatever reason, it's taking your body longer to adjust. So as far as your son goes, it's funny. They're like, he's going to be fine. Like he doesn't have all the symptoms and things that you're going through. It's just hard for you to imagine, like with you having all of that he's like totally, even though he's been sick. But I keep seeing his like they're showing me the accident of him falling, and it feels like his sock was crumpled up funny, and that's what he slipped on. He slipped on his towel. Okay, because I just see like crumpled up like under his foot. Oh, poor Tootie. So the feeling I get around that is not like there's something physically going wrong. It's just he's just a little boy. That's it. Just a little boy. I also feel like he's going to be a little bit more rough and tumbly, so they're sort of like making me feel like just be ready that I don't feel like this is going to be his first set of stitches or his only set of stitches. I feel like this kid's going to give you a little bit of a run for your money. Not in a bad way, just, like he's a little bit of a daredevil is what I feel like he's going to be. So and it's not a bad thing. It's just like my kids are ultra cautious. And he's not. He's your only one, right? Because I feel like you're going to have a little girl as well. You're welcome. You're always so sweet, Gabby. You keep having a dream about a little girl. Oh, well, then that's your validation. Okay. Let's see. I've got Allie and then you're very welcome. I've got Allie, then Shannon, then Fern, and then Lydia. Allie, are you here? If she's not here, we can just move on down the list. And when she shows up, we'll let her. Oh, hi, Allie. What's your question, dear? What is your brother's first name? I'm only giggling because I'm like, is he your younger brother? Arnold. Okay, let me just look at Arnold and not really your parents. I think Arnold's definitely ADHD. He feels like an impulsive spender. Like when you're like with the money, it's like, oh, it just feels very impulsive. Not really thinking about how he's spending it or like what he's spending on or and I don't feel like he's like a full-blown alcoholic or anything. Like when you're like, oh, he's hiding alcohol. I don't feel like it's like, I just feel like it's not wanting to be judged. But I don't feel like, again, I don't feel like I'm just, I don't even feel like he's a functioning alcoholic. I don't feel like he's an alcoholic. I just feel like he's hiding it because he doesn't want to be judged about it. I don't feel like, I don't want to say like, oh, you don't need to be scared because I feel like that's dismissive of your feelings. I just feel like I keep getting this feeling of like having always been sort of coddled or propped up, and he's never really had to have been held accountable for his actions. And I feel like maybe not really ever been guided or parented. Your parents can be really scary. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I don't feel like he has an alcohol issue. I just feel like he didn't want to be judged for it. Um, I mean, I just keep getting the feeling of like, I literally keep hearing this too shall pass. It'll be okay. He'll figure out his own financial stuff. I don't feel like they're going to have to deal with it or anything else. And like in like 3 months, it'll feel like it never happened. Really and truly, it just blows over. And I also feel like he's like not even as bothered by it as you are, to be honest. I don't even feel like he's scared of your parents. I just feel like he's like doesn't want to have to deal with them, if that makes sense. Like it's funny because I feel like he's in his 20s, but I also at the same time feel like there's something very high school. Like he didn't grow up past like some of the emotional mental maturity is still like a 17-year-old. But I keep feeling like he's legal age. They're not going to kick him out. I feel like he will move out on his own accord. They won't kick him out. And I want to say this because I think it's like he's 33. I was like, I kept getting like 26 or 28. So then, yeah, he's really. um, they won't kick him out. I mean, I hate to say that. They're not going to. But I do feel like within the next, like, he'll move out before he's 40. But they're not going to kick him out. He's not even bothered by them. So here's the thing. It may be upsetting for you to watch it happen, but, you know, just consider yourself like, I know it's your family, but like maybe just consider yourself like the random renter in the house and like be like, oh, that's a weird problem they have to deal with because you don't really have to like dive into everybody else's stuff. Yeah. I'm telling you, within the next 3 months, it's going to blow over like nothing ever happened. It'll be fine. Someone who's your dad kicking himself for not having been like a better mentor around money and stuff for him. That's okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's okay to hit each other. I'm just saying like it was big or whatever, but you can just remove yourself and allow people to deal with their stuff and not have to dive into it. You think the healthiest thing you can do for yourself is remove yourself from as many things as you can that you have no control over, and you have no control over either of those. Like you don't have any control over your parents, and you don't have any control over your brother. And as long as they're, I mean, if somebody throws a hit, you can always call the cops, but like you don't have to totally like just emotionally dive in and deal with everybody else's stuff. It doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It just means my sanity first. And then, because also when you can like kind of look at things from a calm perspective, it gives you a better idea of like problem solving and what really needs help and what really doesn't need help. That's why, like, even with everything that's going on right now, and you're just like, oh my God, he's making all these crazy executive orders and blah, blah, blah. It's like the idea is for us to stay panicked and freaked out because then you can't make calm and rational decisions. So here's what I would say. You don't need to be your dad's confidant. Like, you can set that boundary. And also, there's like this other side of it where you're like, well, why does the alcohol really matter? He's a whole grown human being. He's not an alcoholic. He's 33 years old. Like, and some of this is self-generated on everybody's part. Your parents' part, self-generated stress that's like absolutely unnecessary. And you can just say like, Dad, I love you so much, but I can't fix any of this. And I don't feel like it's my space to really, or be like, okay, I'll give him a few minutes and then just kind of zone out a little. Like, you don't have to take all that on. The other thing is, just because somebody says something, especially in an emotional fit, doesn't make it like, emotions are weird. Like, they aren't real. I mean, they are and they're not, right? Just decide. I know it sounds really simple. Hi, KK, just decide. Just decide, like, I love you so much, Dad, but like, for my own health and mental well-being, like, I have no control over any of this. And maybe going to a therapist would help. Like, just suggest those things. Just say, and I know he would never go, but it's this idea of like, this is above my pay grade. I don't know how to deal with this. Like, it's not, I mean, but I'm also of the sort of like, I cut a lot of my family off, but just because there was a lot of crazy behavior, and old abuse and stuff, where I was like, this is like I'm not exposing my children to this. But like, I don't know, the thing when I really started deciding, like, for my own sanity was like, oh, I don't just because they're all emotionally riled up does not mean I need to jump into that crazy sea of catastrophic emotions. Like, I can just sit and watch and go, oh, and a lot of it's just honoring where he's at. It's like, oh yeah, I see where you're at, validating it. It's like, I could see why you would be so upset. Just honor where he's at. And then you just go, look at the reality of the situation. He's a 33-year-old man who's getting yelled at for having alcohol and shitty financial. Which is like, okay. I mean, he's not an alcoholic. He hid some alcohol because he knew they would flip out. I mean, it's not heroin he's hiding. He doesn't have cocaine. He's not like, doing a bump in the bathroom. He's just trying to have a drink after a rough day. Not to laugh at your situation, but like, sometimes when we de-escalate it a little bit and kind of look at it really like, and I know it was a big fight. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm not saying that they weren't. But like, maybe if you talk to him, like, well, what's the big deal? Ask him, what's so upsetting about alcohol? Rothka, I didn't say you say hello. And I have the live chat on. He got a DUI. And that's something he'll have to deal with. He has to deal with all of that. I mean, at some point, your parents also just need to let him fall on his ass. And it's funny, even though he had a DUI, I don't feel like he's an alcoholic. Like, I have enough alcoholics in my family that they have enough ways for me to feel alcoholism or any kind of addiction. I don't feel that with him. I just feel like makes poor decisions, impulsive behavior, things like that. So again, I feel like it blows over in a couple months. It's not going to be the worst in the world. It'll just be quieter. All right. Shannon, I spelled your name wrong. What's your question? Need my magnifiers. Oh, I think. See, are you here, Shannon? Well, if we had a good job I can stick with. I feel like a job change in 6 months, and I'm going to say this, I don't think it's the one you can stick with, but I think it's within the organization that you will stick with. So it feels like you'll get your foot in the door there, and then that's when you move up. Okay, Allie. So it doesn't feel like, again, like it, because they're showing me almost like on either a moving walkway, you know, like they have those in the airports. Like it's like I start in one place and then I kind of, so it might even be a lateral move, and that's where, but I feel like you stay within this, it feels like a very large corporation. And I don't feel like you're not in a job right now. So it's like, I feel like I just make from one job to the next in like 6 months. Fern, what's your question? Oh, that's annoying. I always seem to get like a scratch on my glasses, like right in the center of my eye. Fern, are you here? Or Lydia, if you guys want to go. If not, I'll take Allie's next question. And then if nobody else purchases a question, we can do the general stuff where we talk about world events. You guys ask questions about that. And that section is free because it helps everybody. So I'm happy to do that. All right. I was wondering if my uncle Gavin, who died in 2014, had anything he wanted to say to me and my dad specifically. Okay. I can't guarantee he'll give a message to your dad because sometimes they don't. I don't understand why they choose to pass messages along sometimes and not to others. But I will try to connect with him. Sound good? So the energy that I'm connecting with, I feel like there's definitely a respiratory issue. Like at first, sorry, oof. Oh my God. I feel like he had prominent eyebrows because I keep getting this feeling of having bushy eyebrows. I also feel like a headache, and specifically I'm kind of over this part of my face. This is my right side. But then I also, at first I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like I wasn't breathing. And just now I just felt like coughing a little bit. Like I just had a hard time. Like I feel like almost like tight, like COPD or something that's restricting my airway. I'm tempted to say he and your dad are like best friends, even though, because I heard that song, Let Me Tell You About My Best Friend. I won't sing it for you because you might think that there's like spirits messing with how squeaky and cringy it is. Does the bushy eyebrows, like the headache and the respiratory like stuff going on make any sense? I also got the feeling of like being out in the woods. Like I feel like I was in the woods, or I don't know if this is like he liked hunting or like it's just like something about being in the woods because I just feel like there's like heavy foliage around me. There's also something about my right foot. So I don't know if he had an old injury in his right foot or something, but something significant about that. He had a he died, he had a head injury. Did he have a history of smoking? Because that would be the breathing thing for me too. And was his head injury on the right side of his head? He did work in the woods, yes. Okay, good. Um, that'll give me the heavy foliage part. There's something with his foot. So I don't know if like would he have fallen and hit the right like would his maybe I feel like he wore steel toe boots. And I feel like maybe my foot got caught on something and then I don't know, there's something about my foot feeling caught. And the reason why I say steel toe boots is just because of the way it's shaped. It just looks like the shape of a steel toe boot. Like they just have like a rounder, like heavier thing to them. Okay. Did he and it would do you know if the head injury was on the right head? The reason I'm pushing is because I'm like, this is the way I'm feeling. So I want to make sure that I'm connecting with him. I don't want to make it fit. I just want to understand what he's telling me. A lot of times I'll just come through with a lot of physical stuff first because that's the way I mean, I easily tap in that way. Um, so he's talking to me about the butterfly. Like first he showed me a butterfly, but then he said the butterfly effect. So it's this idea of like, I guess, that one thing, this occurred, and then all these other things occurred because of it, just kind of puddled out because of it or echoed out because of it. So after his passing, was there a lot of things that kind of seemed to just keep going wrong? Or it was like just felt like one thing after another, but it started with his passing? What's interesting is I don't feel like he was really spiritual, but I do feel like he was a little bit of a conspiracy theorist or just a little bit into like aliens or something where it's like definitely what? The butterfly effect or the conspiracy theorist? I feel like he's drinking beer and it's like it feels like a darker beer. So immediately I'm thinking Newcastle or like a lager or something like that, not a and darts. Did he like to play beer and play darts and drink beer with your dad? Oh, the butterfly effect. Yeah. Um, and he's making me feel like he had an old injury, like a rotator cuff injury on his left arm as well. To the darts and beer. I feel like he was like really smart and a bit cynical. And he didn't I don't feel like I feel like he had a pretty even keel emotionally. Like I don't feel like he would get too out of sorts about stuff, but just like called it like it was. Very direct, kind of matter of fact guy. I genuinely keep hearing I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. He definitely played darts with your dad. Yeah, because I feel like I'm sitting. It's funny. It's either like a small bar, like a small town bar, or like a bar in a basement, and then like drinking and kind of talking, and then playing darts. But it feels like I'm in with like a pint glass, but I feel like I'm drinking darker beer, not a lighter beer. So it's not. This is not like a Bud Light or a Budweiser, or it's like a Newcastle or some kind of lager. Maybe lagers can be lighter. I don't know. The local pub. Oh, okay. Okay. Because it just feels small. Doesn't feel like there's a lot, Um, but I feel like he keeps saying like, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. So I don't know if there was a worry that like you were worried about him. He liked drinking his beer. Not being happy when he passed over, or not being settled. And it's like he just keeps saying, I'm happy, I'm happy. So I feel like he was not like huggy and lovey-dovey with your dad, but I feel like guy physical affection, like tapping him on his shoulder a lot, and kind of like, both of his shoulders like this. And he just, what did he say? Sorry. Like saying something like, I'll see you later, buddy. I'll see you again soon, buddy. Like something like that. But not, your dad's not passing soon. So I want to like clarify that. But it's just this like, he's not done being a part of your dad's life just because he's not physically here. He's showing me a dog with him. I generally feel like it might be like a golden retriever, or I'm like, because I keep pushing to be like, is it a lab? And it's like, no, I don't feel like it is. But I don't feel like it's his dog. I feel like it's your dad's dog. There are pictures of him and my dad with their arms around each other. Yeah, like I don't feel like they were like, oh, like I love you, blah blah blah. It's like, but physically affectionate, but not like in like a like always with their arms on each other, that kind of thing. But not like hugging. Does a dog make sense? And then also a glass eye. I'm not sure my dad could possibly have had a dog when he was younger. He's showing me with a dog. So if it's not a golden retriever, maybe it's a mutt that has a little bit longer hair that would make it golden retriever-esque. No, it's not a black lab, because I kept pushing for it. I was like, is it a lab? And it was like, no, not a lab, because I kept trying like to fit it. It doesn't feel like that. Like I'm specifically seeing my childhood dog. She was a golden retriever. She was more red. I don't feel like it's a black lab. So it's like a lighter colored dog. I also feel like, shit, what was the thing I other said? So sometimes with doing readings, things like come in and out, and then I can't remember them. There's a feeling of just like, he's like, I just wish I could have had one more goodbye. Like that. Would he have said to your dad, like, I'll be seeing you again soon? Like, there's some like, I want to clarify again, I don't feel like your dad's going to die soon. So when I'm asking this, please know that that's not where I'm going with it. It's just a feeling of like he had this like it was never final. Saying goodbye never seemed final. Oh, glass eye. Is there something about a glass eye? Did they have a joke about a glass eye? There's something about a glass eye he brought up. Right. I know I assumed with a head injury it was unexpected. So tuck this in because maybe your dad will understand a joke about a glass eye. But there was also like when he would say goodbye, I just feel like it was always like, okay, see you later. See you again soon, bud. And it's just that feeling like the last time he said goodbye just was like I feel like every goodbye was like that. So I feel like he's sort of saying that to be kind of like, I'm not really gone. I'm still around. I'm still here. He's also giving your dad a hard time about reading. So it's like sort of like maybe it takes your dad a really long time to finish a book, or maybe there's a book that's been on his nightstand for like 20 years that he's never finished. But he's sort of like giving that kind of a, like there's a nod to that. I don't know why. I don't feel like your uncle was really old. Like I feel like you're pretty young. I could be wrong on all that, but sorry about the glare on my glasses. I just can't read the screen without them. He was only his mid-30s. Okay, I was like, I feel like he's young and you're young. So would he have been a Harry Potter fan and liked Mad Eye Moody? Because I'm like, I was like, I'm trying to figure out the weird eyeball thing. And he does give your dad a hard time about not reading because it was like it literally felt like, oh, like maybe even your dad says like, oh, I got to finish the book or whatever, and like I feel like that's a joke between them. He's also kind of making me feel like I had a pretty simple life, but it was really good. Like I don't regret any of it. Like there's no feelings of like, oh, I wish I would have gone off and lived in a big city and done all the things. Like I feel like he really liked the simple life. I mean, there's so many of us that spend our life where we, I have people ask all the time, like, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And it's like, I don't mean to be like dismissive of anybody having a big dream, but at the same time, like sometimes our lives are about being really simple and then just figuring out relationships and how to love and how to connect and just have a simple life. You honestly don't know about the glass eye. Could possibly be a joke between them. Yeah, it's just something with a glass eye. I don't know. He's kind of pulling his energy back. So I'm gonna. He feels very nice, a very kind man, and I'm sorry that you lost him, especially at such a young age. That's really rough. Just gonna turn down this brightness on that. That might help. You're very welcome. Thank you for trusting me with that, with his energy and with your energy. Who's here? Say hello. Welcome if you're new. Starry Sky, I see you. How are you? I don't know if Laura's on here today. She was one of my students from my psychic development circles. And we are mutuals on TikTok. And I was like, go on Blue Sky. You should get on there. She does these great readings on there. And I don't know her screen name on. Old. What does old mean? Because I'm younger than you. All right. Let me update my little listy list. I didn't forget you. That's why I got you already. Right after Lydia. Hi, Nicola. How are you? Okay. Lydia, I think I saw your question up above. Hi, Misty. I think you came out here from TikTok, yeah? I feel like I saw your name over there. Okay. Nope. Lydia, did I see your question before or no? Allie, don't retract your questions on your, don't retract your conversations. I say that only because I leave the chat on so that when people come back, if I'm not totally reading what you're saying, they understand that I'm not just like talking to myself and they know what the context is of what I'm saying. So if you guys cannot delete those, that would be amazing. I'm okay. You know, dealing with the anxiety of the world, just like all of you. And trying to find my center daily. I think things are going to get a little less stressful now that my daughter has her full diagnosis. Also, we're moving her out of honors into regulars because she wasn't doing well, mostly because her teacher doesn't really understand ADHD. And so, like, if you don't understand how somebody's brain works that has it, then you can't really teach them well and you can't really help them excel and do well. And I'm very unhappy with a lot of things within my daughter's school district right now. The joys. Okay. But I think things will get a little better. Like once she's not so stressed out about school, then I think also it will help. Because I stress out when she stresses out. You know how it goes being a parent. Just a general for Lydia. Okay. As you can tell, so just so you know, like you can see, I think some of you wrote notes within the thing. I don't really even look at it. I just look at who's on the list and then put the list and have you put the questions here. Same thing like when you book a reading, I used to have you book with me and then I would fill up the thing, but now it's all just automatic through my website. So I don't have the time. Like I just get a name. I just want to know your name. Like I don't pay attention to, I don't know where you live. I don't know anything about you. I don't know if you're in a different time zone. I don't really care. There are people I've done readings for and I feel terrible, but I'll be like, have I done a reading for you before? And they're like, yeah, like 4 times. I'm like, oh my God. So it's nothing personal. It's just, I don't want to know anything about you. And I don't usually remember your readings because my brain is in a different state of being. I think they've done like EEGs and things like that of people who do readings. And they say that you're basically in like a meditative state. So I just don't remember a lot. It's nothing personal. So most people tell me they appreciate that. They're actually glad. But I just don't. Like there's some people's readings I'll remember some things here and there, but for the most part, like people are like, oh my God, you were right about that. I'm like, wait, what was I right about? Like, tell me how was the reading? I don't remember it. I don't know, Starry Sky. Sometimes I wonder. I'm a little hard on myself about, but I think we all are when we're parents, like that we're not doing enough or I'm doing the best I can. That's like all I can say. And I'm hoping, my kids are good kids. They really are. They're really sweet and kind. And that's really all I can ask for, really. Just good kids. I'm trying. Okay. So Lydia, let's do your general reading. Sorry, dear. Okay. Do you have grass allergies? I'm asking that because like I heard 4 points, 4 corners, which I don't know. Sometimes I get random stuff and I don't know what it means. I'm just throwing it out there because I don't know. But then I see like really tall grass and I actually felt like my throat get really itchy and like postnasally drippy. I'm going to get to it messages. This is just roundabout the way I'm doing it. So just bear with me here on the way things are coming through. It's just the process, I guess. However they decide to do this. I'm hearing this song and I don't know the exact words of it. I know I've heard it a lot as like used as a background song. But there's a feeling where I see you doing like protection spells or something with like, because I'm seeing like, I don't know if you're on TikTok, but they have witch talk. And there's like some people who will have like, they'll write names on a piece of paper and then like show it to the camera. Like you can't see anything but their hand and like their little setup. And they'll like fold it or burn it or put stuff on it. So it's like I just keep seeing that and like doing so. I don't know if you're doing some sort of protective work, and that's the feeling I get. I feel like it's around protection, not around like it's not baneful magic, which some people are like, you shouldn't do baneful magic. I'm like, yeah, there's balance in everything. Like as much as somebody can be a really good, like if you look at somebody when it's like, oh, like we have the spectrum, the entire spectrum within us to be all things, right? If you think about like multiverse, like you have the ability to be all things. So if you look at somebody like Donald Trump, he actually has the potential to be a really good person. I don't think he ever expresses that potential. But just like somebody who's really good has the potential to be very fucking dark. We can swing the gamut. So it's also like when you screw with somebody who's really, really good, like they may like wait, it may take a really long time. And it's not like you see them lash out, but you will see a side of them if you push them far enough that's much darker than somebody who's like always kind of an asshole, if that makes any sense. Okay, you have before. There's a feeling of like right now needing to set up boundaries, if you wish, protection, that it's important for you that within the it feels like different sets of circles. So it feels like it's not just like it's oh, that's interesting. Okay. So it's like I feel like a circle of protection in your home, a circle of protection in your work, a circle of protection in society is the way I feel like it's like setting up different boundaries. Within your home, it feels more like it's interesting because I'm like, I don't know if you're married or not, but it's like other people coming home and bringing the energy of their day within the home, and you sort of get stuck holding space for all of these people. And they're sort of like set up boundaries, set up protection. So like a boundary doesn't have to be, I'm not going to be there for you and I don't want to hear anything anymore. But it can be a like I said before, not jumping into the emotional catastrophe of it all. Like you can listen without having to totally pull it all in. I just feel like it's really important for you to mentally prepare yourself because I feel like you're really sensitive to other people's stuff. So it's this idea of like setting the intentions because our beliefs create our reality. So like I don't do like some people sage and do all these things before they do readings. I say it like I do a prayer of protection, which is basically like surround us with white light. And I never really thought about it that it was like doing anything. I just thought what makes my sitter feel comfortable. So like I will do anything that I need to do to make sure that somebody coming into the reading feels safe and comfortable because you're opening yourself up to like allow me into your energetic space. And that's a very vulnerable place, right? And people don't come for readings or come for spiritual advice or guidance because they're in the best place in the world. They come because they're in a vulnerable space in their life and they're looking for just, a life preserver to help them float through the crap of it all. And I'm aware of that, and I don't take that lightly. It's why I try not to fear monger and do all that stuff, because I feel like that's a way to manipulate people. And I try to encourage you to be empowered, because again, we are all powerful beings. And even when you're in those vulnerable spots, you're still capable of being quite powerful. You just maybe need a little extra support through it. So it's just this feeling of like when you, I'm sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent, but so I do these. So I did a reading for a woman once, and she was like, well, why isn't my grandma coming through? And I said, honestly, I'm not getting her. And then I just got this nudge from one of my guides. Like, she was kind of a terrible person, like a really awful person. And so I said something, and the woman's like, oh yeah, she was really horrible. I go, she can't come in my space. Like, she's not welcome here, because I have this always like, I am well protected, and nothing that's not allowed, like, doesn't need to enter my space. And it doesn't mean like, I mean, I've dealt with some pretty dark entities, but I don't know. I was a way of them kind of showing me that belief system is set there for a reason. Like, and it's just as protective for the people that I'm reading for as it is for myself. But there's just this feeling of like starting to set intentions around that, of like, with affirmations of like, I am safe and protected, and visualizing and doing that, of seeing yourself filled with, like, your space filled with white light, seeing a bubble of white light around you. You can do sparkly gold light, whatever you resonate with. That's what I tell people, is like, sort of find what resonates with you, because that will be what you need. Meaning, I see green light as being a healing light, right? I see blue light as being protective, but also connecting to, man, you like your throat chakra, so protection around communication. I'm like, wait, huh? Like, I went to an Asian market the other day to buy these jujube, they're red dates, and goji berries to make tea. And I was like walking through the aisles and just taking my time to look through and see what was there, because I've never been, I think I've been to an Asian market once, but they have, like, different offerings. And so I just was drawn to chrysanthemums, these dried chrysanthemums. I was like, I'll buy these and make tea with them. And then I like happened to see a video later that day of this woman saying, like, in Chinese and their herbal medicines, like, you shouldn't just have the jujube and the gojis, you should have chrysanthemums in the tea to help offset the heat or something with it. And I was like, look how intuition works. So it's like, there's just this feeling of like, you'll trust your intuition on what you should be doing. But it's just this feeling of like really needing to set up boundaries around yourself, not like scary, but just to help manage your own energy. If that resonates at all. I don't know if any of this resonates. I just feel like you're really susceptible to other people's stuff. Like, I was ice skating. I took a lesson the other day, and there's a woman who I've seen several times. And when she skated by me, like, when I looked at her, we were standing on the end because I was working on my backwards stroking, and I just looked at her, and then she skated off. I was like, oh no, like, she has a major health problem. And it took me a minute to sort of recover from that. And I just feel like you're really sensitive and don't realize it. Or don't realize how sensitive you are. Maybe even some of the anxiety you're picking up, like where you think, oh, I have really bad social anxiety. It's like, no, you're actually just connecting to a lot of others' energy. And that can feel very overwhelming when you do it. I don't always notice. I will tell you this, like, when I go and do even things where I'm enjoying being there with people, I'm literally worn out when I get home from the social energetic connection of it. It doesn't mean I'm having a bad time while I'm there. It's just like, oh, like that was a lot. And I don't drink or anything. So that's not the reason I might feel like just worn out the next day from it. So there's just this feeling of you setting up different boundaries, that it's really important. Sarah, are you married? Because I keep seeing a man that's comes in and I just feel like he brings a lot home with him. And he's not, I don't feel like he's a bad man. I just feel like he brings a lot of energy home with him. Is there a man that you live with that would bring a lot of energy home with him? Or did your dad, does he have kind of curlyish, wavyish, dark hair? Or maybe it's gray now, but it was dark then. I don't know. I keep seeing somebody who looks kind of like my dentist, and he's not a tall man. And he's Italian. He's got kind of wavy hair, darker wavy hair. I guess maybe it's a little more salt and peppery now. I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to him. Grayish brown now. He brings a lot home with him. Let me just check my phone because I'm supposed to I told her I'd pick my daughter up at 5:30 and I just lost track of time. So I want to answer these questions. Make sure she's okay. Let me just ask if she's good for a little bit more. Actually, let me just go send my husband over there. Hold on 2 seconds. I don't even have to worry about it. Give me a second. Stewie, will you go pick Daisy from Annabelle's? Thank you. Do you remember the address? It's just 50. Over by the school, that little road that you go up. I'll look it up on my phone. Okay, thank you. I do. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so now I don't have to deal with that. Let me just tell her that he's coming over. Okay. Yeah, I feel like he brings a lot home with him. So it's just really about setting up. Like a lot of people, like, you gotta protect yourself. It's like, well, I don't know. I don't think everything has to be so scary or serious. Like, it's serious, but like, I think when you move anything through fear, like especially your spiritual practice, I don't feel like you're doing it really in an authentic way. Meaning, if we believe God is all powerful and God is within all of us and we are all interconnected, then there is nothing really to fear. And that fear becomes then a controlling factor for somebody. Like, I don't connect a lot with a lot of organized religions, even though you say like I'm a reverend of the Spiritualist Church, but if you look at their tenets, it's not fear-based. There's nothing outside of us that's controlling us. We're responsible for all of our, actions, good, bad, and indifferent. Like, we are responsible for every decision that we make and action that we take. And there's no sacred text that we follow. It's just like, do unto others, be kind to other people. And when you see people doing a lot of fear mongering and scary tactics, it gives me pause and I always think, well, what's their angle? Like, what are they trying to get me to do? Like, where am I supposed to be in this space? I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, but I don't know. So it's not about, they're not saying to do this out of fear. It's just out of like self-preservation, that you don't have to like move through the world in that way. Okay, can I move on? Are you okay with that? Is that a good, you feel like I got your $12 worth? Sorry. Okay, Allie, what's your next question? And then Starry Sky and Misty. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to connect with your energy. Miss Allie, you're up again. My dad keeps stressing me out that he's moving to Mexico when he retires and he's going to leave me and the responsibilities of the house and my mom. I've tried telling him it's too much for me. I literally got, well, just tell him to go. Tell him go. Okay, sure. Go, Dad. Yeah, totally. Got it. No problem. We can totally handle this without you. Because I almost feel like he's doing it to feel wanted and needed and all of that. And I just feel like it's like, call his bluff. Okay, totally. It's fine. Because I have to say the fact of the matter is you would be fine. But I feel like he's doing it more as a way of like emotional manipulation just to get something he needs. Yes, really. Oh, that's not. I almost feel like your mom might be better off with him moving. I know that sounds really terrible, but they have a very interesting relationship. I know. I'm sorry. Hi, Buggy. What's up? What you need? Daddy is going to get Daisy. Okay. And then you won't be so lonely. You're so sweet. Yes, ma'am. Once you're done, can we play air hockey? Totally. I will totally have an air hockey tournament with you. Okay. I love you. Love you too. Okay. Mwah. We were playing air hockey earlier. We have like a little tiny setup. And then she started playing with my husband and he like, I guess he's more competitive than I am. So she started cheating and like resetting the numbers when he would score. I'm sorry. Okay. So apparently I'm having another air hockey tournament. So I feel like he'll be your mom will be. I had, they're empty threats. That's the feeling I get. Empty threats is what I keep hearing. Empty threats. So, but also like, honestly, Mexico's not looking too bad right now. That's all I'm saying. They've got a female president. She seems like a badass. They've got healthcare. Just saying. And not bad healthcare either, really. I know you don't. I think I don't see him going. I'm going to say that. And even if he does, I actually feel like everybody, it all works out okay, if that makes sense. Like, I don't feel like I don't see this big, he's tired of it here. Well, hello. I mean, I'm with him on that. I mean, in New Jersey, we have, I know you're not in New Jersey, but I know you're up north and, insane taxes. And like, our government clearly doesn't want us to be mentally stable people. The constant chaos and like yanking everybody's chains. That's why people keep saying like, when are the aliens going to come and do I have to keep paying my bills? Like, it's like such an absurd thing. And also like everybody went over to Red Note. I want to say I can't remember how to say it. Xiao Hung went over there and they're like, oh wait, China's not even that bad. Like we're worse off than China. What is going on? We were lied to. Like we were gonna, that idea like you're gonna send all your leftovers to the starving kids in China. It's like, oh, like no, people are eating there. They have healthcare. They have like minimal homeless people. They take care of their mentally ill people. They take care of their, people that can't work, the disabled people. I wanna say this, like, don't I really honestly, this is like I don't even know if this is like it, but don't feel guilty. Just pay what you can, help them out, be of assistance. It's not I'm as a parent, if I had adult children that lived with me, I would not expect them to pay all of the bills. To contribute, sure, because they're grown-ups, but to contribute would be nice, that kind of a thing. Not that they'd have to pay it all or even pay half of it. Like, that wouldn't even make sense. It would just contribution would be nice, the thoughtfulness of it. Guilt is a strange thing, and usually when we feel guilty, it's I don't know. I have found that the things that I feel guilty about when I talk to the person I feel bad about, they're like, "Why are you even like, what is I don't even understand that." Um, I find the people that usually create or what's the way I wanna say it? Do the worst things tend to not ever feel guilty about it. They don't like being held accountable for it, and they don't feel guilty for it. Just pay like, genuinely, it's the same feeling I get, like, even if it was my kids, where it's like, pay what you can, not like, "Oh, I can only afford $10 this month." It's like, pay a fair amount. They don't expect you to pay half of it. It just feels like paying a fair amount and contributing and helping out, and if you can't help out financially, like, as much as you think you should, it's like, help out around the house, help do stuff around the house to maintain it. That's kind of the feeling I get. I don't feel like they expect everything in the world from you, just to be a contributing citizen of the community that you live in. I talk to my kids now about I'm like, this is our house is like a community, and we all live in this community, and we all have to help take care of it, because when you go out in the real world, you're going to live in a community, and you have to help care for the community so that it's fair to those around you. So we don't talk about it like this is your family, and it's like this is a community. We all have to contribute to the community. I don't know. Then they take sort of ownership and pride in it rather than feeling like, oh, it's a burden. Okay, Starry Sky and Misty, what are your questions? But yeah, your dad, I want to say I love him, but he's full of it. A general, you got it, dear. So when I did the deep breath, I feel like you're doing a lot of work on grounding yourself and releasing tension, because I felt like all of a sudden I just felt easy to relax in. So when I connect to somebody that feels like I know that they've been doing the spiritual work and they work on like their meditation or whatever, my head starts to feel more light and floaty. So I just felt all the tension released from my head and my jaw and everything. I just feel like you're really doing the work. And then I saw like it kind of looked like an 8-bit video game where it's like a little mountain and then little people carrying things, and it's like I feel like you're over the mountain. You're able to get, it's like I almost even feel like the mountain wasn't as tall as you thought it was going to be, and I just feel like I'm really doing well now. I'm over the hardest part of it. Um, I could just keep hearing every day is getting better and better. I even feel like it's like people have really come together and rallied around you more, whereas usually you are the power lifter for everybody around you, and I feel like you've sort of allowed people to carry you when you needed it. Um, And maybe even sometimes when you didn't really need it, but you just allowed it. And I feel like this is a really important lesson for you, just to allow others in to help you and do more for you. it's sort of relieving the burden and relieving the resentment that you have sometimes of having that role and wondering why would I choose this role in life of just always giving and giving and giving. And they're saying like you have to allow yourself to receive. And unfortunately, sometimes when we go through big medical things or big traumas and things like that, we are forced in this position to allow ourselves to receive. And they said, keep going with that. Just keep doing that. It preserves the community that you have, and it actually builds a tighter community and more connected. Deeper connections. They're saying don't hold back and don't be scared. And then I saw, so it's interesting. I went from the mountain and just now I feel like I'm almost, I don't know if you ever gone underwater and you open your eyes and you see like the sun kind of shining through underwater. And that's where I feel like I'm at. Um, I almost feel like this is a vision that you've had through meditation or connecting. Have you been practicing either like dream journaling or automatic writing? Because I got both of those, a feeling of like writing everything down. And they're like, there's a sense of like, oh, I almost feel like I'm crazy doing this, but there's something to it. And I feel like within the next 2 weeks, you're going to have some breakthroughs on that, where you're going to start getting more validations about it. It might freak you out a little bit, but they're saying it's okay. It's a good thing. I still get kind of blown away when people are like, oh, Anna, you said this, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, what? Like, it is kind of, but it's also really cool. You keep saying to myself, like you told me, to allow myself to receive love. Oh, good. Dream journaling. Okay, perfect. So it's just this feeling of like, I feel like within the next like 7 to 10 days, even of getting a breakthrough on that journaling and sort of having it make sense. I also feel like you're due for a dental exam. There's something that's coming up here for me. This is my upper left side towards the back. So like if you have wisdom teeth, it's going to be your third from the back. If you don't have wisdom teeth, it's your second from the back. But I also felt like a twinge down here on my lower right. It just might be like a cold sensitivity thing. I feel like some of this stuff is coming up because you grind your teeth or bite down really hard at night. They're also saying just relax into this feeling of like being content and not looking for the next thing you have to do. Oh, that's exactly where you said you need a bridge. Oh, okay. You grind your teeth, yeah. So they're saying, sort of talking about this period of life where it's like, this is where it starts getting easier for you. And can you handle that? Meaning, can you handle the lack of chaos? Can you handle the calm as you go through it? Sometimes when we're so used to like sort of like what's going to happen next, because like I feel like everything's always like kind of going awry, the calm feels almost threatening, and it's like there's sort of like just this is the period to just really start enjoying it. May I leave you with that? All right, Misty, you wanted a general reading? Just double checking. And then we can do some general questions if you guys have general real quick. And then I have a client at 7. So I don't want to be on here too long. So I don't normally book anybody, but then I'll have to do it tomorrow night. So, okay. Oh, I'm like, I was just seeing, they showed me a bay leaf. Do you know what a bay leaf is? And I was like, well, what does she need to do with a bay leaf? Does she need to put it in soup? Like, and it's like, no. I think this is like something really important for you as you're moving through like manifesting and affirmations and doing that work. I actually feel like it's really important for you to do the physical act of manifesting rather than, I feel like you're having a harder time wrapping your head around doing law of assumption. Does this resonate when I say this to you? Okay. So it's this feeling of like needing an act of like physical intentionality as you're doing it to help you. And it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong or that you're not as good as somebody else. It's just finding ways to hack your brain. Just like when somebody has ADHD or autism or whatever, it's not like it just works differently. And so then like it's not trying to make it fit into a neurotypical behavior. It's going, well, what works for you? Excuse me. It's like if I was nearsighted, I would have to wear a different style of lenses than if I was farsighted. Like that's it. I couldn't just try and make it work. It wouldn't work. So it's this idea of like, if you take a bay leaf and you write your intention or your manifestation on a bay leaf, you can either burn it in a safe place. We're always going to be safe, especially if you're in a drought prone area. I mean, you don't want to go outside and burn outside and actually create some major catastrophe. The other thing you can do is if you can't do that, bury it. Find somewhere to bury it, or you just need a little bit of piece of land. It doesn't have to be anything major, but it's that intention of like, I'm setting this intention and I'm giving it back to the land. Even something that small, you can't get past feeling silly. Yeah. So like the thing is like, all of these, I mean, I know that there's energy that's carried in stones because you can feel it when you go in stores that are filled with them. But at the same time, I don't need this to do a reading, right? This isn't like, I just like to hold it. I can do readings without them. In fact, when I do my email readings, I don't like come down here to sit with it and sit I just need a quiet space for that where my kids aren't constantly interrupting me. Or when a friend calls me and, I'm not like holding this. It's just like, I just get information that hits me. But when I do readings and I'm sitting here to work, I just like to hold it. I don't need all of these symbols of protection behind my head when I do it. I just like them. I could probably decorate a little better than I do. So if you can just decide that like, it doesn't matter how I do it in order to like I told my daughter, so she's doing math or whatever. And it's like, if your brain is stuck and can't figure out like, like multiplying or whatever, I was like, or like, you're like, oh, this is like really hard. Like go back to your older, easier steps of like counting up. do whatever you have to do. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to be like, well, that's not legit way. Well, it was legit enough. Forget it. Like, who cares? Like, use whatever tools and means way possible. So to say like, well, this just feels silly to think about it now. When you have it happen enough, when you just go, oh no, that's going to happen. I don't like, I already decided it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And you can move on with it. You can manifest that way, but there's still maybe areas where you're like, oh, I'm having a harder time. So they're sort of saying like, just do the thing, write the intention on the bay leaf. If you don't have a space to burn it safely, and so like a way that you would do is like burn the bay leaf. I have like a tiny mini cauldron, so I'll burn it. Sometimes I won't burn it in the house because it irritates my one daughter. She's very sensitive to smells. So I might do it outside. But if we had a drought, I was not doing those outside. So you just write it and bury it. Same thing, you can do it on a piece of paper. It doesn't really matter how you're doing it. It's just the act of deciding that you're trusting in something bigger than you to take care of it. Same thing with affirmations. I'm trusting in something that resides within me. God resides within me. That's bigger than me. And I'm giving it to that. But if you have to write it down first and burn it, or you want to like create an altar, all of those deities that we connect with are connected to all that is. It's just a part of all that is. And we're deciding that that's easier for us to connect to, or we know that historically it worked in our family and all of our family connected with that Saint Santa Muerta or whoever. And so I know that that works. So that's what we do. So if that's the ritual you connect with, great. It's not wrong or less than, or you're not understanding manifestation if you do it that way. But like, if your belief system can line up with that quicker and it brings you what you want quicker, why not do it? But they just keep showing me the bay leaf specifically way of doing it because it's still easy enough. And connected to your belief system enough that it carries more power for you. Doesn't mean it carries more power in general, just for you. I think when there's this idea of like, you listen to people say like, it has to be this way. You have to do it this way. I'm always like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Just whatever works for you. Even when I know that I'm having a little bit of harder time or more doubt, I know that I can keep affirming. And I also know I could do the sleep affirmations, or I know I could do a ritual. And sometimes it's just nice and fun to do a ritual to like honor things that way. I know I can do it without it, but sometimes I just like to. And I think when we get to this idea of like, we can incorporate it all or none of it, and all of that is still okay, your spiritual practice and path becomes a little bit more fun and enjoyable. I don't want to do anything if it feels like I'm doing it out of fear or misery, or like, if I don't do it this way, then like I don't know. When I was 13 years old, we lived around the corner from the Episcopal church that my dad and stepmom attended. I was born Catholic, baptized Catholic, but my dad converted when he married my stepmom to Episcopalian. And they're like basically the same thing. One's just a little more laid back than the other. But there was a little side chapel from the main chapel, and it was like not a Sunday. I don't remember what day of the week it was. And we went over there, and these women were praying. And I know there's a name for them, but they had little doilies on their head. They weren't really doilies, but these like little lace coverings on their head. And anyways, I have this male guide that has always spoken to me throughout my life. And he's like around now and stuff, but he's always been with me. But he was like, they are missing the point of God entirely. And I didn't fully understand it at the time. I also didn't question hearing those voices. Like, I didn't think like, oh my God, I'm crazy. And I didn't think like, nobody else hears this, I shouldn't tell anybody. I just thought just felt very natural. And it's this idea of like, if I don't do it this way, then I'm not going to connect. If I don't do it this way, then I'm not good enough. Or even these ideas when you say like I really support the LGBTQ community. This idea that there's only two genders is so strange to me, because I think, but your God says that you are all Like, you're made in my image, meaning the Christian religion. And God never makes any mistakes. So what is God's image? Can be all of those things. There is no one, there's not two genders. Like, that's just so strange to me. Because then that also then totally denies the idea of like somebody who's born with two sets of sex organs. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And also, like, who really cares? I have found the scary people in my life have never been the ones that society has told me to be afraid of. So what are you going to do? Or the church. And this idea that some outside entity is going to come and possess you and take over you and control you is so strange to me, because I think this, again, the scarier people are humans, and it's never been spirits. Spirits have never been scary to me, ever. It's always been the people embodied in these corporeal things. And, they've always been the cruelest and people who have not respected boundaries. It's never been spirit. Spirit will always respect your boundaries. It's the craziest thing ever. It's so backwards. Like, Hollywood will have you believe that they're going to come in and just take over your body, and you have to be like, no, like, not today. Sorry. Like that saying, like, not today, Satan. It's like, it's kind of true. Like, I don't really believe in Satan. I believe that we also create a lot of negative entities and things like that. And I do believe in aliens, but I don't believe, I have this like hard time with thinking, oh, they're keeping us safe from the nuclear codes. And I'm like, man, I don't know. Because, like, why aren't they stopping genocide? And why aren't they stopping, the absolute destruction of Mother Earth, that we have been doing? I always think with spiritual connections and things, because I had to get over a lot of my Christian stuff and like that fear of like the fear mongering that happens with everything, right? And are you saying goodbye, Starry Sky, or are you clapping? I don't know. Oh, you're clapping. You're clapping, definitely. I just think that like the more that somebody tries to scare you with like, oh my God, if you don't do it this way, like that's the one where you just like, you don't have to say anything bad. You don't have to be like, I don't believe in never. Just like exit stage left. That's not for me, because I'm telling you, none of the spiritual stuff, like when you practice it without the fear, and it's not about being like, oh, I'm so brave. It's just like, oh, like I don't have to dive into that emotional catastrophe that's happening for them. You find a deeper connection and you actually feel much more secure, along with doing the self-concept work, along with like working on what follows I am is really important, because when you stabilize that and are really kind and graceful and gentle to yourself, you actually create a deeper connection with your own intuition, because you start to trust yourself more and you start to go like, oh, this is like safe for me. I don't need the outside validation. It can all come within here. And you recognize like, oh, we all have this really bright, wonderful light within us. And you start to have more compassion for the people that are like, when I see those fear-based things, I'm like, oh, that's just where they're at in their journey. Like, I don't think, oh, those assholes. I'm just like, oh, and I also really believe that they're there for a reason, and that they're helping certain people at whatever stage they're at. But you don't have to practice spirituality that way. And it does, like, the easier you make your practice and the more like okay you become with it, the easier it is to have a spiritual connection and practice. Like, the more rules and like more difficult, or like, oh, you got to do this way, it's like, I just feel like you're less likely to fully connect in, because you're doing it out of like this rigidity, and it doesn't need to be rigid. You don't have a problem reaching outside of, yeah. But what I'm saying is like, I didn't either, but I also knew that I had a lot of indoctrination, just like I grew up in Texas and Wisconsin. And even my mom never really thought of, we were not religious by any means, but she did grow up, like she grew up going to Catholic school from elementary all the way up to, even college. She was in like a private Catholic school. And so like, she never really thought about religion or connection with a spiritual whatever outside of that scope. And So then she had me and like, oof. And I think I don't challenge around it. I'm like, oh, I'm just very matter of fact, like, well, this is what I believe. And I've always interested when she speaks about it, because she doesn't a lot, but she's like, oh, I kind of have these connections, and I don't know. My point was like, I just had some of these like just deep-seated subconscious beliefs where I had to work through those. And I really was able to like let go of a lot of those when I started doing the self-concept work. And the truth is if God is within all of us, why would we be speaking to, like, we don't think of what God as like, oh, you're such a piece of crap, or like, oh, fucked it up again. Like, you don't like worship your God that way. And if that spark of divinity is within you, why would you speak terribly to yourself? Like, if we are made in the image of God, like if you want to look at it from a Christian standpoint, why would you speak to yourself that way? And at the same time, even when you become spiritual, you're still human. Like, you're still meant to be here and have a human experience. So if you can have grace with yourself for like being like, motherfucker cut me off again on the road kind of thing, or like, oh, they didn't do this again, like having those same human frustrations, if you can be like, and it's okay for me to be like that too, because again, you're a soul having a human experience, and you're supposed to have those human experiences. And this idea of like transcendence and ascending and is so weird to me, because I'm like, but you're also here to have this human experience. And if you were meant to be totally ascended, you wouldn't have been brought here, like you wouldn't have incarnated here. I went to a lot of different churches, and like this, like, and what I found was, and I'm Southern Baptist and non-denominational and all kinds of evangelical and whatever. Like, I tried all different churches just to see because I was like, well, I'm not finding it here. Let me try somewhere else. And I just sort of found like there's hypocrisy everywhere, and there's this fear-based belief. And I didn't resonate with that. And it wasn't like a yelling at everybody or, like, it was just sort of like, oh, this doesn't work for me. And you'll find what works for you. Like, I'm not saying like I'm some guru. It's just like, this is sort of what I've experienced in my journey. And the more that you can be gentle with yourself and gentle with the process, the better it is. And maybe some of that's also getting into my 40s, where you just go, oh, but really, really the law of assumption, and just then like going, oh, what are my belief systems? Why do I have these belief systems? Where did they come from? Who put them here? Was it, a system? There's lots of systems in place that create a lot of strange belief systems. The othering of other people, why are, they're so different than us. And it's like, I don't know. Putting people up on pedestals that don't have a reason to be on a pedestal. All right. Did I actually answer your question? I hope I did. Oh, I did. Sorry. Basically, that was about simplifying your process and not overcomplicating it. And it feels like it'll give you a better start to where you're at. I think you're going to take off from there. I just think this is a starting place where, like, just do it this way. It's fine. It'll work this way. I think there's a million different ways to manifest, and you can manifest without affirming. You can manifest where, like, literally sometimes I'll just be like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have that? And then I don't ever think about it again. And then it happens. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And then also sometimes, like, yes, we can manifest like technically immediately, but I also think sometimes the process slows down a little bit, because other things need to happen in order for that to come in. So, like, for us to fully embrace it and keep it, if that's the intention, right? So, like, sometimes you have to have other experiences first. It's just the alignment of it. Anyway, does anybody have any general questions they want to ask? Whether it's like, I don't know, whatever's going on in the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because I'm going to do maybe like 10 more minutes on here and then I got to go just so I have a little break in between this and my client at 7. Oh, the whole Blake Lively thing. Oh God. This is why I want to do this on like have a private community where I feel like comfortable talking about this. Okay. I'm going to tell you what I've picked up on it. Okay. You have a nice holly tree behind my house that have great leaves. Oh, perfect. Perfect. The DEI initiatives. Oh God. Okay. So let's go. I'm going to do some of the heavy stuff and then I'll do the lighter stuff. Does that work? I'll answer all of them. Okay. I'll do it. It's fine. The only reason I always have a little bit of discomfort with that is just because of my friend's son, but whatever. It'll be okay. I'm not answering anything too crazy. When will the orange menace go away? Oh God, I don't know. I want to talk about that really quick because I was thinking about it because I was like, I thought Kamala was going to win. I still think there's something fishy that happened with the voting things. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's Blue Anani or whatever. It's just that people are creatures of habit. Again, my husband's in construction in New York City. His father was in construction in New York City. Like the construction world in New York City is small. Like it's not, I mean, it's big, but it's small. Like they all know each other. And that man is a con man, like is in his DNA. And it's hard to see like all of a sudden a pattern, like where it was all honest and it was all like, so that's all I'm going to say on that. For entertainment purposes only, indeed. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I don't know when he's going to go away. So what I was going to say is so I felt like, you guys know, if you've been here a long time, Starry Sky's been here a long time, Allie, KK, you guys have been a long time, that back in 2019, when Biden was running against Trump, I said, I saw Biden winning, and then I saw a man and woman in 2024, and I saw 2 women in office in 2028. But I saw like in 2024 that it would be a female president, like whatever. I didn't see Trump running again. Sometimes I think we're not given information just out of sheer protection, because I probably would have lost my shit on it, to be honest with you, because I was like so fucking stressed out the entire time he was president the first time. Just because it energetically, it really creates a lot of chaotic energy, and it's overwhelming. And I don't care how much somebody tells you to protect yourself. Like sometimes it's just like when it's just constant, it's a lot. So, anyway, so I feel like I don't feel like he's going to be like in forever, like creating a third term or anything like that. And I think I said AOC. I saw AOC running, which is hard to believe considering how polarizing they have made her out to be. But when you listen to her, she's like, I think we need to be honest and like talk about insider trading. Like she's actually more like with understanding people and like knowing how to connect with people than a lot of other people. Anyway, I really like Jasmine Crockett too. I got to be honest with you. I just like that she says it like it is. I was like, oh, I don't think she could run though. Like I got a feeling like, oh, she might as on the same ticket. But then I was like, oh, I don't think she can because she's too young. And then I saw she's in her 40s. I thought she was like 28. I was like, oh, dang, she looks good. I also didn't realize she has her Juris Doctorate and all of that. So anyway, that's sad. I just think things will happen. I don't know. I wish I could say like the DEI stuff. I feel like what's going to happen is more companies are going to start reversing it because they're going to feel it in their pockets. So there's already a lot of people who are like, I'm not shopping at Target anymore. And honestly, I'm going to shop as little as possible at because there's so many places. I'm going to try and put my dollar in companies that either went blue or companies that went no political affiliation at all. Like Children's Place doesn't have any political affiliation, so shop for clothes there for my kids. Um, Aldi doesn't have any political affiliation. Like trying to put my money into places that chose not to, because honestly, I don't think corporations have any business in politics at all. Like at all. I don't think they should be able to lobby. I don't like at all. Um, right. So and to try and do as much local business as possible. So really putting back into my own community as well. That's really what I'm trying to do. Like there are certain things where it's like, ugh, like, but as little as possible to those places. And it's easy for me to go to Target. I can do a lot of shopping at Target one, but I don't need to. I can find all that stuff elsewhere. I can order directly from companies if I need to. Will I have to pay shipping fee? Sure. Okay. Costco carries a lot of stuff. I just that's how I think it's going to get. My feeling is it's going to get turned around is not because they're going to do it on their own, but because they're going to feel it in their pockets. That's it. That's all that most of these people hear anyway. Is they, only make decisions based on their wallets. So, yeah, it's always the bottom line with most of them. Okay. I don't know. Has the U.S. enacted tariffs yet? There's going to be pushback and, so I think I said this a long time ago. He would scream about doing a lot of stuff and there would be a lot of infighting and he won't get as much done as he wants to get done. I don't know if you were here when I said this. I know KK and Story Sky weren't, but there's a woman named, she's on YouTube, she's on TikTok, but I'm saying YouTube because we're here. And again, I think people are going to make a mass exodus from TikTok in June. Let me find her name again because I think she's a good sound mind to listen to. JJ Legal, JayJayLegal. She's a great one to follow. I'm going to put her thing here so you can find her on here. And I'll pin this instead of the payment because we're done with the payment part anyway. So you guys can give her a follow. I just really liked her because she's she's a very sound mind person to listen to. She addresses a lot of the stuff. So I feel like he's throwing out a lot of stuff, but like it won't happen in the end. Again, a lot of the people, I even feel like these, like the Project 2025 people and some of these people he's aligning with, they will start dropping out too. Like as much as he's trying to get some stuff done, there's going to be a lot of pushback and a lot of legal battles. I just heard losing his base. It almost feels like a deflating balloon. Are there going to be problems financially for us? Yeah. But I do feel like we'll recover. So I don't feel like this is like it just is going to try not to allow yourself to get crazy alarmed by everything. He is. And I also feel like some of the deportation stuff is going to slow down. Because it feels like everything getting clogged up, not being able to do as much as this is just a lot of this is just really impulsive. I'm going to show you who's boss, kind of like very little kid energy. Um, there's going to be pushback from his own constituents, like from his own base. They're already requesting in Florida. We're like, wait, but don't deport these guys, not these guys. These guys are here legally. Like, he's going to end up getting pushback because Jesus Christ, our whole system is built by people who are here, who are working for less, who are, I mean, it's, I don't want to say like, by documented and undocumented people. I mean, yeah, it is, CB, 1,000%. And I would love to say there'll never be racism, but it's going to be a long time before people look at it and they're like, why did they even ever care the color of somebody's skin? It's going to be a while before we hit that point. But we will. Elon, yeah, I think he will be. As much money as he has, I feel like he's going to have less in the next 2 years, going to have less pull on others. So I think I'm going to tell you what I think the Gulf of Mexico thing is, and this isn't psychic. This is just paying attention to different things. There is something that Biden, some legislation, I don't know if it was just Biden, but that went into play where it was kind of like you can't do any more drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. So I think the thought process is for him and his people is if we change the name, that's the loophole. So if we change it to the Gulf of America, we've taken out the loophole. It's not the Gulf of Mexico anymore. And so we can start drilling. This is for his oil buddies. So I think that that's probably where the thought process is on that one. Because as soon as I heard that there was this thing, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure Canadians are panicking. The whole world is like, I mean, I know that we're probably being centered on how the whole world, but I really feel like the whole world is like, we're a big country. Like we're not, but again, I don't think as much is going to happen as he wants to happen. And the other thing I'm always amazed that people don't understand is the tariffs don't harm Canada. They harm us. Like all he's doing is harming the American people because we take on that extra money. We have to pay it. That's why there's like these amazing cars that China has. And because they decided to put 100% tariffs on them because people like Elon Musk were afraid that their cars were better, we don't have access to those amazing cars because most Americans aren't going to pay 100% tariff on them. Like, so these cars they just don't want to pay for it, plus shipping and all of that other stuff. Yeah, I know. I saw the incident because I live near here. So it is counterintuitive, but I also feel like because enough people don't understand how it works, when they hear it, they think, oh, they're punishing that country. We'll stick it to them and bring all the business back here. But that's not what happens. Historically, that's not what happens. The big Amazon warehouse is leaving Quebec because Amazon doesn't want to allow unionizing. That's my feeling. It's not because it's because Jeff Bezos is an asshole and he doesn't want his people to unionize. Let's hope I don't get banned here. I might be moving to Substack permanently. I can do lives over there as long as I have 10 subscribers. So, but yeah, this is all like I said the other day, I was like, I don't know if I was on here or what. Maybe it was last week when I was on here. It's like, it's all them trying to scratch each other's balls. Like it's all a game. It's all an ego game for them. They really don't think, they don't have a connection to real people. They don't have an understanding of what it is to I honestly feel like so many of them are sociopaths, to be very honest with you. I just do. I feel like Elon, I don't think I almost wonder if he's more of a sociopath rather than autistic. Like people say he's like level 1. But sociopaths have flat affects and lack of empathy. And most of the autistic people actually have quite a bit of empathy. I don't know. And sociopaths and psychopaths are kind of socially awkward. Like, just saying. Like the I don't know. And apparently, and I'm not saying I will always say that non-diagnosis is fine, but when you have, especially for people who don't have the financial means, but that man has the financial means to do all of the stuff and figure out it and like do all the brain scans and like because there's some stuff where they're doing brain scans now on some. And it's like he could do all of that and he doesn't. And I'm wondering why. Maybe because he thinks they'll actually find something different than autism. Like maybe they'll find he's a sociopath. Do I think they're being led by negative entities? No. This is the other thing I want to say. So, I don't I believe in negative entities, but I also believe that we conjure a lot of that like within our own like ability to create. But no, I just think there are just some really fucking bad people out there. And the minute that we start just instead of going, well, the aliens are going to take us over, like we have to save ourselves. And this is why I love like the whole idea of like spiritualism, like this as a reverend. It's like there is nothing outside of you controlling you. You are responsible for all of your actions. So no, they're just really fucking bad people. That's it. That and I think when we come to terms with that, it's like, oh no, they have to be accountable. Because I feel like when you go, well, something else is controlling them, then they lack accountability and they just get away with whatever. Like, no, they are accountable for who they are, and they're just awful human beings. Just awful. So to my FBI agent who's watching me right now, I'm kidding. Or my CIA or Secret Service. Okay. I said I would answer all of them, so I will. I'm gonna answer the Blake and Ryan thing. Oh, the backlash. Someone asked if there'll be backlash from the Project 2025 agenda and involvement billionaires in politics. So for me, it's like when people are like, is there going to be a civil war? I feel like the real war comes within like more technical stuff and more financial rather than like so like people deciding that their dollar actually matters and that they have a lot more power than they realize. Backlash sort of, but not like fully in the sense that like people deciding their power is within their money, that kind of a thing. Eventually I feel like there's going to be a higher percentage that you have to pay. I think it was under Roosevelt. Was it under Roosevelt where they had like they actually like these really ultra wealthy people had like very high tax percentages. I don't think it'll ever go that high again, but I do think there'll be more accountability. I know in China there's more like the more you make, the higher your taxes are. And there are things put into place to keep the wealth, like the business people out of like politics and out of control kind of things, from what I understand. I don't fully know that, but that's something I read. So, yeah. So I do feel like there's going to be an eventual backlash to it, I guess, if you want to say it that way. But, people don't like to go get medical help until they're like basically, it's like so bad you can't ignore it anymore. Sort of that thing. It has to be so bad that we can't ignore it. We have to put a stop to it where it harms not just, where it harms everybody, unfortunately. All right. The Blake Lively thing. Allie, are you here still? All right. So this is what I feel. I feel like there's a lot of big egos in Hollywood, especially the ones that are like front and center. It breeds that, right? There's some good ones, but the ones that get really high, that kind of breeds that. I feel like with her, I feel like she's very out of touch with reality or people. And so I don't feel like she connects well with the everyday person. I feel like she is very, very insecure and yet has a very big ego at the same time. Like a sense of superiority, I should say that. So very insecure with a sense of superiority. I feel like, so I think before I've said, I was like, oh, there's going to be really big celebrity couple divorcing. Like I see this, whatever. And I got that like at the beginning of last year. I think it's going to be them. I don't feel like they will be able to make it through this. Like, I feel like they will enough far away, but I feel like this is actually going to be what totally ends them. I feel like she told him one thing was going on. Maybe she perceived it that way. So I'm not saying like she didn't, but I feel like whatever happened, her perception of what was happening wasn't what was really happening. I do feel like she really likes to be in control. And I also feel like I've watched way too much of this shit. I feel like there were other things going on that made her want to also have the clout of the people that she's hanging out with. So I know Anna Kendrick directed a movie. I know, then she works alongside her. And then her husband is very successful and her best friend is very successful. And I use best friend lightly because I think also from my experience with this other circle group of women where they were, connected to another very famous celebrity, where the best friend thing just feels very loosely thrown in there. Like I may have known you for a while, but like I don't know how tight they are. I mean, some of the stuff I see just looks like triangulation. Like there was a long set of texts where she's like the Khaleesi thing, where it's like sort of like they thought it was really good too. Like you could just say like, I thought it was a really good scene. What did you think? When you start bringing in outside people that are either more powerful or even just, it's like that idea of like, well, everybody else says that it's triangulation. So that's a total narcissist tactic. And I'm not saying she is, but I'm saying there's behaviors there, right? I feel like, and really, she really does have even though she's not an A-level actress, like she doesn't have that much stuff under her. But it's her connection and her name and all of that stuff that gives her more power. She really does have the upper hand in that. So some of it's like, I don't know. Do I think he could have maybe potentially done things? I mean, I think again, there's big egos. So it's like, I don't want to say like but my intuition is sort of like, my intuition hit that it's like, I think she told her husband one thing was going on and to rattle his cage so that she could maybe have some ability to have somebody come up behind, like kind of create muscle behind her, right? Create flying monkeys. Same thing with her friend. And I feel like she's been able to do that before. And so like got away with like getting her way. And there was just stuff in there too, like where it was like, well, I've always, okay, so this, I don't know if this is more pattern recognition, but it was just like, it hit so much stuff for me. So there was something in there where it said like, well, I've always been the writer. Nobody took me seriously. And like, we even type up all these pages. I told you I've watched way too much of this shit. And I just thought, oh, that's like the victim, like that's kind of the covert part of it. And, but even then, even if she's writing something for that, she's not going to get writer's credit unless she has to be legally contracted to do it. Like it's not in her contract. And they all know that. Like they all know how that works. They've all been in the business for a really long time. Like everything has to be in your contract for you to get acknowledgement for it. And I'm sure there's writing that happens behind the scenes on almost every project where somebody doesn't get credit for it, but it's like just in there, it's like fine, whatever, because it's not in their contract. And so when she does that after her contract's being written, that's a manipulation tactic to me. That's not a like, it's just a manipulation tactic. It's also a manipulation tactic to be like, I'm going to put it all over on, the whole New York Times thing just was like, like it's all a PR thing in order to manipulate someone. And the problem is like when you're used to manipulating people, right? And you're used to getting your way and you're used to like, however you have to decide to do it. You're going to come up along the wrong person one time who may sit back and tolerate it for a little bit, but who also keeps really good notes. I don't like how there's so many people who jump on tearing somebody down. Cause like, if she's not a good person, she's not a good person. Like, but like everybody's making content to get traction on it. That's why I won't make content on it. Because I also think at the end of the day, like totally tearing somebody down is not like energetically where to be. I think there's so many other things to focus on in the world right now. So I don't think her career is going to come back from this. I really don't. I don't think that she can tread enough water. I don't think she had Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. That did pretty well. I don't know how well her shark movie did, but like nothing else did that great. This movie did really well, but I think because it was tied to the book world, not because everybody was like, I have to go see Blake Lively, right? It's like, I read this book and I want to see the movie. Same thing like with Harry Potter took off, not because anybody knew who the actors were, but because this book was such a deep connection for so many people. So I think that that's why it took off and did well. I don't think her career is going to survive. And here's the thing. I also think that we put people on a weird pedestal because they're famous. Like, oh my God, like it's like the weird, what do they call them? The social relationships that people have with like people that are on YouTube and stuff like that. Like people are deeply flawed. That's part of being human. I really feel like she would not have gotten all of this backlash had she ever really taken accountability for her actions. Like they got married on a plantation. I know that Ryan put a thing out for it. She never really acknowledged it much. Like his apology was where it was at. I was like, well, we're really sorry for it. She defended Woody Allen. She defended, what's his name? Harvey Weinstein. She did and she didn't, but she didn't like take a stand against it. She didn't. And I just think when you don't do that, like, and even when the woman brought out there was one interview I saw where she was like the baby bump one. You know what I'm talking about if you were asking this question. She could have just easily come out and said, like, that was pretty atrocious and I'm really sorry that I did that. people have blind spots. They don't always answer things correctly. Like, I just think that that's where our world is moving. Aquarius and Pluto and Aquarius is like really like changing of social structures and more authenticity and people being held more accountable for their actions. Nobody expects perfection, but just accountability is great. So I think she sort of, and unfortunately we live in patriarchy. So I think, he may not be out in the forefront for a little while, but I don't feel like his career is dead. I feel like he'll come back. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at like, what's his name? There's people from the 80s. Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe had sex with like a 14-year-old or something really ridiculous, like statutory rape. Like, that man's doing well, right? So he went away for a while and he come back. Like, and I think that'll sort of be like, or he'll be more behind the scenes. And I think that'll sort of be where it's at. It's weird to me, but you'll see negative energy and fear spread like wildfire. For whatever reason, people want to jump on the bandwagon of like, I saw this person and they were so horrible and mean. And it's like, everybody wants to feed on that energy. That's why I probably don't get huge ratings and numbers, because I just try to stay like as like even killed as possible. So unfortunately, I don't think that they'll go to court. I don't think any of them will go to court. I think it will be settled. All of them will be settled. I give it around mid-February, third week of February, by the time it's all sort of said and done. I don't think any of them want to go to discovery. At all. And I just feel like I feel like Ryan will still do his Wrexham stuff. But I feel like he's going to be more quiet and behind the scenes on stuff. You're not going to see him doing all of the advertising for different, even Mint Mobile and all of that stuff as much. And that's already dropped off a little bit. He'll recover. She won't from it. And that's by virtue of just patriarchy. And also like everybody says he's really controlling, maybe. I don't know. I feel like they have the relationship they have. I can't imagine that he's controlling her wardrobe the way I've heard, because I look at it, I'm like, that's all her. She's picking all of that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they're going to survive it. Is that enough? You've been in and out, but listening. I have to tell you, I was like feeling a lot of anxiety yesterday when I woke up, and then I have to go because I need a little bit of a break in between this and my client. I was having a ton of anxiety about yesterday, like just when I woke up, just around like all the Trump stuff. You're welcome. So anyway, so intuition says they're not going to make it. Intuition says like they're not going to make it as a couple. But I felt that since the beginning of, which is interesting, of like January of last year. So something must have happened that was like the catalyst for that. But I also feel like his career will come back, hers not so much. She may do stuff like Hallmark movies or something like that, but I don't think her career's over. Like, if it does, she's going to come back in little small things here and there, but nothing. And I also feel like she's not going to be as much in the social light for a little while. Then she'll come back to that too, like doing the Met Gala stuff. But anyway, so I was like feeling really awful. So then I turned on, I'm saying this because Julie, this makes me think of you because you're horses. And I saw this woman who was like playing the guitar, and her horse totally loved listening to her play the guitar. And then she would like let him, and he would like strum on the guitar with his little lips. And then she like, same thing. She was like playing the piano, and he like wanted to go into like play the piano with his mouth. Like, he just loved music. And I was like, oh, it like totally like just reset everything for me. So, as Mr. Rogers says, when everything is chaotic and scary, find the helpers, look for the things to find you, to find your self. So go follow JJ Legal. I really think she's a helper. and watch horse videos. They're great. Okay, so y'all have a great week, and I will see you next week. Again, don't look for me to post anything on Instagram anymore. If you want to find out what I'm doing, where I'm doing it, please just subscribe to my email. That'll be the best way, especially with everything shifting. And I'm going to be on Blue Sky. It seems like a safe place. It's not as many videos. I'm going to do more like texting and stuff like that. And I'm going to be looking at Substack for my community with like law of assumption and manifesting, and even doing some like one card pulls every day, things like that. So look for me on my emails. That would be actually your best thing. And you just go to myspiritualfriend.com. You can download the 5 free manifesting things if you want, or you can just subscribe to my email. Okay. I will see y'all. Have a good one next weekend.